An important aspect to a Dokkan character's kit sometimes can be how well are they going to age in the future. This is something that has become a little bit relevant recently when people are arguing a unit like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta compared to somebody like Blue Goku and Vegeta from the Global Dokkan campaign. Now, today, what I want to talk about is units that have not aged well. These are characters who may have been good when they came out during the certain celebration they were released in, and then within a few short months, they were almost deemed unusable based on certain mechanics. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the units from GDC will look like. If we have will the Super EZA Super Saiyan 4s age poorly? Will this Omega Shenron age poorly? We never know, right? That's kind of the beauty of this game sometimes. Sometimes there's skeleton elements where it's like, if you don't get a lot of extra defense, you could be in a little bit of trouble. But again, it is tough to tell. These are very powerful characters that came out during GDC. So it'll be fun to track and see how these characters end up aging, especially like the major headliners. And those are like the most important. But today I want to look at 10 units in Dokkan and then one category who've aged worse than almost anybody, right? These are characters that were very, very good on release, and then in a very short amount of time, they ended up becoming obsolete. So that is the aim of today's video, and just a quick disclaimer, if you do like said character, it is not the end of the world. You can tell me why they ended up not aging as poorly as I'm saying they're going to in this video. And also keep in mind that this is mainly going to be looking at the base versions of these characters. If there is a silver lining at the end of the tunnel with their EZA, I will mention that. So if you want to see the best aging units in Dokkan, go ahead and drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments, and we will definitely do that soon. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And first and foremost, we're going to talk about one of the most polarizing characters that Dokkan has ever released, and that is going to be Int Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys knew this was coming. I was going to put this guy on the list. I am sort of a known hater, I guess, if you will, of this character. I feel like that's a little bit aggressive. I don't have like a super aggressive agenda against this character. I just like cover him in shorts a lot, where I'm like, I don't think he ended up aging very well. There's one thing that this character does really well, and that's passes the eye test. If we look at this LR animation, it's very nice, right? He's got a cool LR animation. He's got a cool SSR art. We've got all of these things, right? A really cool transformation, good animations, good OST, good link set, all of these things. But there is a lot of fatal flaws within this character that make him essentially unusable in most forms of content. And that is going to be his restrictions, and especially this was like kind of like the writing on the wall for how this character was going to age, where if you only have 20% damage reduction in the base form, which is where most of the time you're going to be seeing a lot of the character, right? We'll be seeing a lot of this later on in the video. It just ends up becoming a problem where if you deal with a fight where it locks, you're at most going to have 20% damage reduction if you get locked out of slot 1, and being restricted to slot 1 could end up being a problem in the future. We ended up seeing this with other characters later on down the road, where if you have to be in slot 1, think of like Vegeta and Trunks after like they ended up aging pretty well, but think about this for like the damage reduction rate of 40% at the max in the first slot, where this character comes out at the end of June, and then you get to the 9th anniversary, and this character is just basically unrunnable. And then it was already pretty bad during the worldwide download celebration that was Future Saga already. So this character just did not have enough, nearly enough, really. Even with some of these extra things like raising defense for 4 turns, he was very good on release. And then like the Omega Shenron fight, he was very good, but by the time we got to the worldwide download celebration and we had fights like Red Zone Zamasu out at that point, things were definitely tough for this character, because Zamasu had a lock factor where this guy could potentially be losing his extra 20% damage reduction because of the fact that he did not have some of the stuff here in the system, right? Where his kit just did not work like as you really want it to, where the first hit is how you get that extra defense on top of this extra defense here. And if the first hit was a super, you were going to be in a lot of trouble, especially because this character wants to get hit. So what people would do, and not like everybody, I feel like most people that had this guy rainbowed were not doing this, but what you potentially could do with this character is put him in the first slot, and then with his hidden potential, what you would do is get him to 90. Like if you had him maxed out at like the rainbow level, what you would do is not rainbow the character. Instead, you would ignore the node that had the 5 dodge, because every character has a built-in 5 of either crit, additional, or evasion, and int is the type that has evasion. So people would leave this character at 99% in order to avoid the dodge, because in order to get to his standby, you would need to get hit 5 or more times. So what people would do is do that, and then if the first hit was a super and you had no way to dodge it, more than likely this character, especially as he aged, was going to get tagged up for a lot of damage. Now, again, this character, when it comes to the eye test, he passes everything, right? I think visually, he's fantastic, one of the best characters they've ever done, and I think this full power, the full power version of this character is very nice with the guard that they have right away. We have the guaranteed crit, right? The great chance of doing it later on. We have damage reduction of 25%, 50% damage reduction in here, right? Very good stuff, and also very nice animations. So that is always nice to see. But it ended up being a big problem that this character just did not age well. So please don't take this as like I dislike the character and all of that. I think this is a really cool character, and it is unfortunate that he ended up not aging to the best degree that we could have seen. So definitely a fun release. You guys know this is an awesome character. He just did not end up aging well. And if you disagree, that's completely fine, but let me know in the comment section below. So that's the first character we're going to be talking about today. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one, and that is going to be AGL Vegito Blue. You guys probably knew he was going to be on here as well. This character, I think, was pretty good when they came out, right? This is definitely a revisionist history sort of unit where people like to, you know, let's all point and laugh at the We Saiyans have no limits, right? And offensively, this character just did not hold up with when it comes to the 9th anniversary stuff, right? Especially in base. And this was like most of the time when you play with this character, this is who you're seeing, right? You are seeing the super attacks. You're not really seeing Vegito Blue. So when you're using this character, like most of the time, this is what you're watching. And then when we are looking at like the additional supers and stuff like that, you know, you're looking at very subpar offensive stats, and you really are sort of just relying on that defense or that dodge chance for them. And defensively, their numbers just did not add up. So if a fight potentially was disabling dodge, if a fight locked and kept them out of slot 1, this was definitely going to give them issues, right? Because this is where this character is really going to have their bread buttered, right? As the first attacker, having this high chance to dodge, this character, when they released, was exactly what they needed to be. Slot 1s in late 2023 were a bit of a problem. We had the 8th year anniversary LRs who were both not slot 1s, right? The STR GT duo needed supers for damage reduction, and then the Z duo was just not that great, right? They had some decent stacking potential, but they just were definitely not a slot 1 character unless they had their standby active, which was not always guaranteed. So we had this right here where we had guard and the 50% chance to dodge, which in 2023 was pretty good. But as we hit the 9th anniversary reset with characters like Gogeta Blue and Beast Gohan, these guys just sort of faded into obscurity, and you just had to run them in like short burst or limited forms in order to really get anything out of them. So most of the time with this video, when we talk about characters that age poorly, that is what the bar is going to be. When we see, can we play the intro animation? Yeah, we can watch this. But most of the time when we have you know, an anniversary, it's going to hard reset most of the content, right? That is just sort of how the game operates, and it's definitely a pain in the ass. But this is just sort of how it goes. And that's what separates the well-aging units from the bad aging units, the poorly aging units, right? Where if you can manage to go into an anniversary and come out of it unscathed and still be runnable, that is usually a landmark accomplishment for a character, because most of the case, this worldwide download celebration and some other celebrations that we're going to be talking about in a little bit are the biggest offenders of characters that do not age well, because they are specifically designed for the content that was made during that worldwide download celebration. And then we get hit with an anniversary level of power creep, which is pretty quickly done after the worldwide download celebration. So just keep that in mind. I think when these guys came out, they were definitely underrated because of the fact that they were a slot 1 character on teams that needed a slot 1 character, right? But I definitely think they didn't ended up aging the best. But Vegito, still very cool. It's just a shame you really don't get to see him. I thought this Vegito was pretty damn impressive, but that condition was such a nail in the coffin for this unit, in my opinion. But at least they were decent in base when they came out. Now, let's go ahead and move on to some of the worst aging characters of all time. And we want the base version of these characters, not the EZAs. And that is going to be the 5-year fusions. We'll talk about Gogeta first. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys could tell just from looking at this where one of the major problems with these characters were. The third, what they ended up being relegated to was floating because of this, right? Like, this is where you'd want to be using them. And we hit like Worldwide Download Celebration 2020, and these guys did not feel the best, right? Someone like STRUI Goku could feel a lot more comfortable being ran than a unit like this because of the fact that they had the dodge at the time. But what really the big problem here with this character, in my opinion, and the his counterpart, right? Like, really, we can talk about these at the same time. I just want to talk about these at base so we understand, is the lack of any defense on Super, right? That is like one thing I think that's going to be really bad for like a unit like this Gogeta 4. We'll see, because he does have like that guard and the damage reduction and the defensive support. But when we look at the sort of, lack of defense on Super in 2020, where the numbers were nowhere near as power crept, and these guys don't have guard, they don't have damage reduction. They are just relying on being in the third attacking slot of the turn, which means you're not going to really be able to build them the way you want to, right? Because as you guys can see, these are attack stacking characters. And if they are attack stacking characters that don't get defense on Super, they could be in a potential world of hurting, if you will, if they are in like slot 2 in a hard fight, right? And it's going to be very hard to stack them when they're floating. If you guys run the Festival of Battles right now, what you'll notice is that your floater is obviously not going to be building the way that your characters would on rotation. So that is always something to keep in mind with this character like this. It is pretty bad right now. Again, with this specifically, when we look here, this is, just want to make sure we have, yes, the base form here. When we get into here, we have the effective against all types, which is always nice. But again, we are sort of stuck in this third slot. And that is not what you want for your anniversary characters if they are relegated to being stuck as floaters, basically right after you get out of the anniversary and stuff like that, and content evolves. That is a bit of a problem. So the beauty of this one, at least, is they do raise their defense when they are in the Super Saiyan Blue form. But the problem with that is that, you're not always going to be in the blue form. But at least with this one, it is a little bit better because of the fact that it's turn 4, right? Like, we're not talking about this one where the condition is horrible, right? So that is a little bit better, and I can't be too upset about that. But again, I just think that especially the base forms, these guys just did not age well. By the time we were to the Worldwide Download Celebration, by the time we were at like Tanabata stuff, like, these characters definitely did not feel the best. The only real saving grace that they had for this, for this character was just, it was this, right? Like, it's just like, how could you see this and not be enthralled, right? Where you're like, oh my God, I need this unit. Like, you just watch something like this. And it's the same thing for Vegito Blue, right? With the final Kamehameha. But this animation still holds up so damn well. That is one thing about this character that you can't say they didn't age well, is this right here, where we have the this active skill, and then this one also has a KO screen, but goddamn does that starting frame look good, right? They really went all out for this one, and considering this animation is almost going to be 6 years old soon, like, that's pretty incredible, just for the standard that we've had. I really am expecting a Gogeta Blue during the 11th anniversary that rivals somebody like this in terms of animations, so, or Gogeta 4 if you're not looking at your monitor, but it's pretty cool stuff. So I think that, again, what I will mention is that these guys did end up getting very, very, very good EZAs. So, this is at least the light at the end of the tunnel here. Guaranteed dodging in that first slot that you needed on that turn 4, and it didn't even need to be in the first slot. This was a very good batch of EZAs that were some of the most exciting EZAs we've ever seen. So we always are going to have that, and I'm happy that that is ended up being what happened for these units. So 5th year fusions, their bases did not age well at all, but their EZAs definitely have. All right, so next up, we have Namek Goku, and I have his counterpart here, Full Power Frieza. And again, this has nothing to do with the EZA, right? I think the EZAs for these guys both fulfill different roles. This guy is a monster in the Festival of Battles, and this guy can look okay at times. So this guy right here, Super Saiyan Goku, it's kind of tough to say, right? He had like the better of the super attack effects, I think, between these two characters, where he was able to stack his defense on the 12 key, which was very nice. But the problem is there was a colossal number crunch at the beginning of 2022, or a number expansion for units due to the release of the 7th year Dokkan Festival exclusive LRs. If you guys don't know, the old category meta at the time was big boy categories would get 170 to all their stats, or a lot of the times what they'd end up getting is 170 to 2 stats and then 150 to another. But what we can pull these guys up too. This will work right here, right? What happened was we got the 170% meta, but one of the introductory mechanics during the 7th anniversary was not only the intro animation, but also this extra 30%. Right. So you guys can see right here where it says Battle Fate, Future Saga, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, 170. There's also an additional 30% stats for characters who are on Realm of Gods or Time Travelers. So that meant that characters were power crept and bosses were power crept around characters for new content being on under a 200% leader skill. So these guys just did not have the numbers to deal with bosses that came out at the time, especially when we hit like the Red Zone Broly era. Like these guys were done. Right, like Red Zone Omega Shenron, Red Zone Broly, in base form, they were finished. Right, I think that Full Power Frieza, when he came out, was in contention for #1 in the game. The argument was between him and AGL UI Goku. I was a UI Goku truther, but if you thought that Full Power Frieza was better, knock yourself out. Right, Namek Goku, very good when he came out. But the 7th anniversary became a thing, and he just unfortunately got power crept out of the stratosphere. So what we have here, is this going to be the full animation with the KO or just the KO screen? Just the KO screen. So, obviously you have this. This is incredible. This is iconic, right? We love this. But just they did not end up aging very well at all because, again, the later half of 2021 was extremely cursed because of the 7th anniversary reset. It probably is like the most dramatic number sort of reset that we've seen, other than like, I think the 10th anniversary was pretty aggressive because of how crazy Vegito was, but no character from like the end of 2024 is on this list. So that is what we have right now. Full Power Frieza and Namek Goku. I don't think they ended up aging very well at all. They were still very good, but definitely could have been a little bit better. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is AGL Trunks. This one is tricky, and I'm not going to talk about this one too much, but he was like, okay, and then was awful by the time that we got to like New Year's 2022 and then the anniversary for 7th year anniversary, right? This guy just did not have enough. He was doing a lot of supers and stuff like that. He was raising his defense on those supers, but nowhere near enough, right? This guy, I thought he was okay when he came out. He was especially good in something like Super Battle Road. I thought that he had some marginal usage, and especially on teams like Future Saga and stuff like that, you could run him alongside like the androids or something, and like you'd be okay, right? The tech androids definitely not going to be on this list, but I just thought that this Trunks like aged out extremely fast because he was a late 2021 unit. So if you were released in late 2021 and then you came out in this state, you were definitely going to be in a bit of trouble. So I think that this guy, again, you did not want to transform with him, and that was a problem, right? Like he felt better in the base form because a lot of bosses at the time were pretty immune to these extra stats right here. So this character would essentially be missing out on 100% attack based on this right here, and then you would need all like Android / Cell Saga, which was not a guarantee at this time. Like Super Vegeta was on there, the tech androids were on there. The banner unit Cell was 2021. I'm trying to think back to like what that team looked like at the time. It just was not great. And so I thought this character was pretty good when he came out, but the 7th anniversary just said hello to this guy and just absolutely like pimp slapped him, right? It was not good. So not good for this Trunks, but let's move on to another 2021 character, and that is going to be this version of Goku. Again, the base form. I thought Super Saiyan 3 Goku could look pretty impressive, but this character is a victim of a sort of design philosophy that a lot of characters fell into, right? When did he release? If you guys remember, he released during New Year's of 2021 over on JP. Or New Year's of 2022. So what does that mean? It means in 4 weeks, there was something else coming, and that was the 7-year anniversary. So this guy, unfortunately, was a victim of that, where he really wasn't on teams that you were running at the time. because what things like Power Beyond Super Saiyan is probably where you'd run this character, but that team just saw such a colossal overhaul in terms of the 7th anniversary, where the lineup was like the Tech Gods, the Physical Super Saiyan 4s, AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku, STR Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Tech God Goku, right? And I didn't really feel like this guy made the cut. And this guy could look impressive. Like Super Saiyan 4 or Super Saiyan 3 Goku could do like 4 supers all around like the 8 million range, which was very good at the time. He could do all that and it would look impressive, but it just didn't end up being more enough for the 7th anniversary content. Like I thought this guy was like the best TUR in the game. And then after the 7th anniversary, we got the release of Ginyu, and it was night and day how much better Ginyu was compared to this unit right here. So Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I thought was okay, or was very, very good when he came out. But again, that 7th anniversary really like took a lot of characters and just did not make them look good, right? Like that's one of the overlying themes of this video. But hey, that's just sort of how it goes sometimes. But the last individual character I want to talk about today is going to be Sword of Hope Trunks. I just don't think this character aged well. This was also during the celebration of the Worldwide Download Celebration 2023. Future Gohan and Tech Zamasu ended up aging a lot better than these guys. The problem to me was this character was definitely one of those units where it felt like almost every time it was super, normal, 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 super, right? Or super, normal, 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 normal. And when you are needing damage reduction for your super attacks, right, you're getting extra defense just for attacking. It felt like a lot of the times this character was going to have 10% damage reduction or 20% damage reduction, and that was going to be it. And he could potentially work with like his standby and stuff like that, but you'd have to wait till turn 5 to get it. And I just don't think he had enough for the 9th anniversary and especially onwards. So it might be a bit of a stretch to say this guy is on the level of some of these characters like this guy. But again, this was just definitely a character I didn't feel was warranted of like a well-aging unit compared to Future Gohan and somebody like Future Zamasu or Fusion Zamasu. Even Fusion Zamasu didn't ended up aging that well because content during the 9th anniversary was not like 3 turns. So I don't think he ended up aging very well either. But Future Gohan definitely was like the best aging unit from that celebration. I thought this Trunks was okay and definitely could have been a little bit better. And I don't think that the 9th anniversary was very friendly to this unit whatsoever. So last but not least, we've got I'm going to be making a bit of an exception here for an entire category. And every unit on this category is not going to apply to, but it's going to be very common that most of the characters on this category aged out extremely fast. And that is due to a lot of factors. And I'm sure a lot of you, before we even get to this next one, go ahead and guess what category I'm about to bring up in the comment section below and let me know if you got it right? I'll give you 3 seconds. And if you've also been enjoying this one, don't forget to leave a like before you go. It greatly helps out the channel. And subscribe if you haven't already, so that way you don't miss out on any of my extra Dokkan content. But category I'm talking about today, Dragon Ball Heroes. Now, with Dragon Ball Heroes, this is a very different sort of character or release as to stuff that we've looked at today. For the most part, we've been looking at Dokkan Festival exclusive releases and Carnival LR releases. The difference with this category right here in specific is they never are going to have the stats to buff because they are not premium releases technically. And despite characters in the future getting the 200% leader skill and stuff like that, like if we look at this universe tree Goku, you see this right here, like he is a 200% lead, but the HP stats are always just going to be low on these characters. So especially with the ones that released before the 10th anniversary, they were getting obliterated by the 10th anniversary content. Like Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, Heroes was in a rough way. But why am I talking about the category as a whole in specific? Because of their release slot. When did this Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito come out? Who was very good, by the way. I think this was actually one of the better aging ones. November of 2023. So right before an anniversary, these characters drop, right? Like essentially 2 months. And almost every time, without fail, these characters come out on a banner that has a guaranteed featured. It's a nice little incentive for players to summon. Players summon because it's easy to pull the characters. And then by the time you reach the anniversary, you're not running these units at all. And it's a bit frustrating for somebody that does summon, right? Because these are pretty cool trophy units to have. I think that it's like, who doesn't want like a Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, right? Like that's a very cool thing. But I just don't feel that these characters almost ever age well, right? Supreme Kai of Time, I think, was a good example of one that did. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I thought was a well-aging version for this Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. The Easy A for Super Saiyan 4 Vegito was very good. Dark Mask King had his own utility, right? there are examples of characters that aged well on this one, but like Limit Breaker or regular Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, by the time that the 7th anniversary came around, he was the 2021 release, right? Or no, he was 2020. Yeah, so the 6th anniversary, you weren't really running this character. The 2021 release, like God Trunks, you weren't running after a certain point. Like you got to 2021, or like you would get to the, what is it? The 7th anniversary got absolutely destroyed. Where are the other ones? Like the Super Saiyan 4, Goku, and Vegeta, these characters were getting destroyed by the 8th anniversary. It's a very rare case where you see a hero's unit age well. But that is all I got for you in this one today. Some of the worst aging Dokkan units tend to be specific. Let me know down below. What do you guys think? Did any of these characters age a little bit better than I said? Did I just get one dead wrong? I think that it's kind of tough to say like which ones were the worst, especially for premium releases, because we have banner units that don't age well all the time. But I didn't want to go too hard on those because those aren't meant to be like the cream of the crop, right? Sometimes you get lucky and you get like an easy A like Sin Shenron who eventually ends up being good, or somebody like Pan who's pretty good for a banner unit, but that's usually not the case. So let me know down below what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you were new so that way you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.